It's Tuesday, April 4th, 2024. Good afternoon and welcome to today's edition of The Pulse here on Joy News. And of course, this afternoon calls have intensified for the arrest of 63-year-old traditional priest who married a 12-year-old girl in an elaborate ceremony over the weekend. More as Member of Parliament Francis Xavier Sosu petitions calling for the arrest and prosecution. But the Ghana Council is defending the priest, stating it was a betrothal and not a marriage ceremony. We are live at the Gborbu Shrine for a news conference scheduled to take place shortly. And also coming up this afternoon, the IMF team in Accra as they prepare for the third review of the $3 billion bailout. And later, the Konfanoti Teaching Hospital project aimed at renovating the 70-year-old hospital suffers setback as officials are unable to clear some equipment imported for the refurbishment.
7:38, and the nurses now because the doctors call strike into a more reschedule our date near day by review. No, am I?
The Pulse is brought to you by Global Community Zigilu, affordable, safe sanitation for all. We are live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV 125. You can as well follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and myjoyonline.com for these and more. My name is Elton Brobe. We shall be right back to deal with the issues at hand this afternoon. We have a show in our hands this afternoon. It's been 2 days of controversy as conflict between tradition and modernity plays out following the alleged marriage between Gborbu Wulomor and a 12-year-old girl. The police in a raid has picked up the girl and her mother for protective custody whilst investigations get underway to unravel inner happenings regarding the alleged marriage. While that goes on though, there's been increasing calls for the Wulomor to be arrested. These and more we have on the Pulse this afternoon. But first, here's what the law says. And of course, if you want to look at the Children's Act 1998 at 560, section 13, 1 and 2, it says no person shall force a child to be betrothed. Also, B also says to be the subject of a dowry transaction or to be married. That's what the Children's Act says, that the minimum age of marriage of whatever kind shall be 18 years. That is what the laws of this country says. Again, let me go over again. No person shall force a child to be betrothed, to be a subject of a dowry transaction, or to be married. The minimum age of marriage of whatever kind in this country shall be 18 years. That is the Children's Act 1998 at 560, section 13, 1 and 2. And so that is the law we'll be operating with this afternoon. This afternoon, there's been a lot of reactions coming on this matter. The Gborbu Wulomor Shrine in Nungua has been defending itself against the calls for the arrest. We'll hear from them as they do a news conference set to come off in some minutes. But in the last hour, the Attorney General has written to the police offering advice on how the matter should be handled. And we have a statement that just came in from the Attorney General and Minister of Justice Department. We'll bring that to you very shortly. This statement that came from the Attorney General's office, plus reaction that we are getting from human rights activists, reaction we are getting from a former gender minister. And for this is the statement that just came through from the Attorney General's office. The attention of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice has been drawn to publications by various media outlets of an alleged celebration of marriage between one Numo Bokete Lawe Churu and one girl called Na Okromo, aged 12 years. Now, as you are aware, section 14 and 15 of the Children's Act 1998 provides as follows. Now, right to refuse betrothal and marriage. A person shall not be forced, a child, to be betrothed, to be the subject of a dowry transaction, like I indicated early on in the Children's Act, to be married. The minimum age of marriage, whatever kind in Ghana, is 18 years, and there's penalty for contravention. So a person who contravenes a provision of section 2 to 14 commits an offense and is liable on summary conviction to a fine not exceeding 250 penalty units or to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 1 year or both the fine and imprisonment. The allegation is proven constitutes criminal offense for which all persons involved must face prosecution. We would like to appreciate if you would cause your outfit to conduct a necessary investigation of the alleged child marriage to enable our office do the needful. And then, so this is a direct statement, if you like, or a directive to the Ghana Police Service to act. And this is signed by Diana Sunabadapa, Deputy Attorney General and Deputy Minister of Justice, and it's copied the Attorney General. And this was, forwarded to the IGP's office. Now, we've catalogued what has happened so far in the last 2 days as we build up to what is to come in the days to follow. My colleague Masola Boba has come to with this report.
In this video, a group of women dressed in white can be seen carrying various items for the ceremony as they walk towards the Gborbu Wulomor's shrine. More than 10 men are also seen wearing white, accompanying the 12-year-old girl to the ground. A voice can be heard shouting, "This is tear robber, this is tear robber," a term suggesting the 12-year-old is a virgin. She continues as other voices join in as they say the old man really has a good sight. At the ceremonial ground, scores of people, all wearing white, are seen seated for the main event. The MC lists the items brought to the girl. The MC is then heard saying the 63-year-old man loves to play romance and will be engaged in romance today. And that, quote, he will use the girl as a wonderful instrument for enjoyment, unquote. She goes ahead to mention the number of drinks they have brought for the ceremony.
You are a wonderful instrument for enjoyment.
The MC is heard again saying every woman has to smell good at night. They brought perfumes that the 12-year-old can apply at night after wearing her see-through dress.
Here was snap, one here was red label, one here was green label, one here was blue label, one here was yellow label. Which I can see a face about the label ye. Ni me show me akaba biye. One very blame makusu. Ena one year wa fractal. Ni tele mai ya mi opo ni wakaba. Jeno bekake. Aha wale ake a way to a man's heart through his stomach. Koto no wuhia meshia. Tano hodi ohale. Neye katope e ma bo mweni kaga ha bo shishini. One year when ni bi papa ni baka ko wo see through eta. Ni mi chomiaka oba shio woe. Koko e patanie. Alo numu banake ngako fakanja eko.
And shortly, we'll be speaking to the Deputy Attorney General. I'll also take you live to the Nungua, palace of this traditional priest. They are trying to justify their action. We'll also hear from human rights activists. But in the last hour, you heard the Attorney General. They have indicated to the police to start investigation because they are on standby to prosecute the case, and they have backed this, directive with the law that protects children, which says that at no time should a child under 18 years be married of whether customary or legal means. Now, I will be engaging other people shortly, but first of all, let me bring in John Bollard Foucault, Senior Lecturer of Social Work, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Mr. Foucault, you're welcome to the Pulse here on Joy News.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your viewers.
It's a pleasure. So, 12-year-old girl, yet to be a teenager, married off to a man old enough to be the grandfather. What do you make of this before we get into the nitty-gritty, whether it is customary, whether it's legal, and the other issues that comes with it?
Well, it's quite scary a bit, and to some extent, I'm also excited at the way all stakeholders are. We have one opinion on how this is wrong for the child and for the society as a whole. I've read the response of various stakeholders from our own Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, from the Attorney General, as you indicated, from the NCC, and from all relevant stakeholders. So even though it's scary, I'm also very happy that all stakeholders are on board as to the way forward. And I want to say that this is a reflection of a larger challenge that we have as a nation, because across different areas of our country, there is always that problem when the culture seems to conflict with what the Constitution demands, and our social protection officers are always struggling as to how to deal with it on the ground. So I'm happy we're having this conversation. Yeah.
Right. So at her age, 12 years old, and taking through this ritual to be named or made the wife of a traditional priest. I mean, at her age, does she understand what really is going on?
Well, this is what I usually say. Mostly when these conversations come up, we get lost in the illegality debate that we forget the human, the individual child. And like you're saying, once we place a label on a child and we call the child a wife of a spiritual leader or a traditional leader, it has huge social, psychological implications on the child. For instance, when this child goes to school, that tag alone means that only a few people are going to play with her. It is going to affect her experience in school, her ability to make friends. There are some teachers who will be a little bit hesitant in giving this child instruction simply because of the label placed on her. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that by labeling this child as the wife of a spiritual leader, we are denying this child a big part of her childhood, and it's going to have huge implications on the child's ability to emotionally, psychologically mature and to gain the relevant experiences of childhood that will make her a better adult in the future.
From the news reports that we have received, clearly the child has been prepared for the role that she's expected to play from this day going forward, because from what we've been told, she was nursed when she was 7 years old, and then looked after. She was prepared for, what happened over the weekend, and clearly, beginning to undertake her wifely duties, if you like. But in terms of her growth and development, with all this media reportage around her, what kind of child is she likely to grow to become, from your point as a sociologist?
Well, let me begin from the earlier statement you made that she's been groomed to become the wife. That's a very good word to use, because in all this, we've not heard the voice of the child. Nobody has given us the opinion of the child from when she was 5 years, 6 years. Did she accept willingly to be part of this process? Besides, as a society, we are supposed to be protectors of the child, and the child is a child for a reason, because the child cannot make certain decisions for herself. So even if the child accepted to be part of this process, socially, based on our collective conscience, we've decided, and we used it to draft our constitution, that a person 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old cannot make these decisions. So irrespective of what grooming has taken place, what socialization has taken place, it still goes contrary to our collective conscience as a society, which is reflected in the constitution that we have. And so it is still wrong. Now, as to its implication on the child, she's going to likely, if not for the intervention of the media and all the stakeholders that have come in, she would have grown into exactly what the culture or the people who are grooming her expected her to be, because she doesn't know any better. At this age, she's only exposed to what they want her to see and hear. And you realize that once you take the child away from such an environment and culture, and you expose her to other alternative lifestyles that are available to her, she may make different choices. So what is happening is the child has been groomed and socialized to think that this is probably her only option. and that is wrong as well. It goes contrary to our collective conscience of society and is reflected in the way our constitution is crafted.
The police statement says that the child and the mother, they've been taken away from the community and now being housed in a safer environment. Now, until this matter is resolved, if the child should go back to the community, how is he going to fit into such a society, knowing very well that there's so much, issues around here?
Brilliant. That is why I'm happy that the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection are playing a part in this conversation. Because after all the legal issues are addressed, it is the officers at the various departments of social welfare who are going to do assessment to see which environment will best suit the development of the child. So if based on their assessment, they decide that this particular child, because of all the stigma that is going to be on her as a result of the media coverage and all the information going out, the child is best served living in a different community. And our social welfare officers will work with the family members and other key stakeholders in government and non-governmental organizations to put the child in a safer environment. That is primarily the responsibility of the Gender, Children and Social Protection officers, and I'm confident that they will be able to do that effectively.
Mr. Vanko, hold it there for me briefly. I'll come back to you for your wrap-up on this one. Let me bring in the Deputy Attorney General and Deputy Minister for Justice, Afetuan Yeboah. The AG's office issued a statement a while ago calling on the police to begin investigation because they are in readiness to prosecute this matter. Mr. Yeboah, you're welcome on the poll. So is this suggesting that you only got to know of this development via media reportage?
It take place and you may not be able to know until you have either a media reportage or someone informing you. I think it's a matter that's of concern to us, and that having gotten to know about it as a law enforcement office, we deem it wise to also take a step further to see how I can get to the bottom of this matter.
The traditional priest, indeed his kinsmen, are of the view that they've done no wrong, and this is just customary. I don't know what your reaction is as far as the law is concerned in these circumstances.
Ghana is a nation of laws. We have various laws regulating how children are to be treated. We are not passing judgment at this stage. What we are seeking to do is to involve the law enforcement agencies, the Ghana Police Service especially, investigate the matter. If at the end of the day there is evidence that someone can be charged for an offense under our law, we will definitely go after that person and charge that person, group of persons accordingly. But for now, there are also suspicions, and depending on the things that we were able to conduct and get evidence that we get, we'll take a step further.
Is it your understanding that the child has been forced into this so-called marriage?
We are not able to assess that one now. It will depend on the investigations that the police will do into this particular matter. In fact, after they have conducted the investigations, then all this will come up. One, what's the actual age of the girl? Two, whether she was forced. Three, did the parents also play any role in what has happened? Five, what about the alleged husband or the person who is alleged to be the husband? That's been alleged because we have not proved conclusively. So we look at all these things, depending on what we get, my brother, definitely at an office that's also paid by the people of Ghana, and also having been given the mandate to ensure that law and order, we will definitely, if there's any evidence, it matters not who may be involved. That person will feel the full recourse of the law.
Will you recommend the immediate arrest of the traditional priest?
We are leaving that one to the police. In the course of their investigations, they may want to take certain decisions. That's why we just return to them to use their professional judgment to conduct investigations into the matter. And
the police this morning says that they've taken custody of the child and the mother and keeping them in a safer place. Is it your recommendation that they should continue to keep them? Because going back to the community may be something else.
Yes, the police, they have the power to do what they've done. and we'll keep encouraging them to do all that they're supposed to do under our laws to protect the child and those who may also be endangered.
So, per your statement, regardless of the circumstances that led to this so-called union, whether illegal or customary, it is wrong so long as the person in question is below age 18.
From the facts, on the face of it, it is said that the child is 12 years. That
Right.
raises a lot of questions. But if the investigations prove that indeed the child was 12 at the time that such an incident took place, then further questions may be asked. So far as the child is below the age of 18 per our laws, that child is supposed to be protected. And the best interest of the child is always paramount. And that's why we need to look at this case carefully.
Right. Thank you very much. Alfred Chuanyeboah is a Deputy Attorney General and Deputy Minister for Justice. Let me shift and go back to Mr. Fokuo. You've heard the Deputy AG. Are you okay with the steps that they are taking to resolve this matter legally?
Yes, absolutely. I think they are moving in the right direction. And I also think that they should make a conscious effort to actively engage the social protection officers in this process, because at the end of the day, beyond this case, we should be able to engage other cultural actors to see how we are going to protect people within this era, because the fact that a particular custom had historical relevance in the past doesn't necessarily mean it has relevance today. So we should begin to engage with custodians of our culture to see how these cultures and norms and the customs we have affect the well-being of people, and we'll need our social protection officers to help us in this process.
But this brings to question the vulnerability of children in such circumstances, where you don't have a say in the determination of your future. Going forward, what would be your recommendation?
Well, back then, I always argue that back then, the entire society acted as parents to every single child. But now, because of the way our society is moving and urbanization, everyone is so focused on their own individual lives that we don't pay attention to what is happening in and around our communities. So what I will suggest is that we as a society, including the media, including the social protection officers, have to make a conscious effort to ask every citizen to be on the lookout for the well-being of every child. When you're walking in town and you see something, you call. When you are in your home and you see something going on in the community, which office can you call? What is the number of the nearest social protection office that you can call? Because now we all have to be conscious of our responsibility as parents for every single child in our society. Because as you pointed out earlier, these children are the future. And if we are creating these customary challenges for them, which is going to affect their psychological and emotional development, then we have a problem on our hands in the future. So I think going forward, all of us have to be conscious of our responsibilities and our role. And I'm very happy with what the media is doing currently. I hope that the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection will be giving more resources so that it can be boots on the ground in the communities to engage with community actors. And also you, the media, continue to educate us on our role in this process so that children will have a voice, because they can only have a voice through us, the adults, when we give them the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fokuo, for your time this afternoon. And this matter is just developing. And of course, this afternoon we heard from the Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs Minister, Stephen Asamoah-Boateng, who told us that he's already engaging with the Ministry of Gender and Children's Affairs, together with the National Investigation Bureau, to understand what went on over the weekend and to inform the action going forward. As to whether the traditional priest will be arrested, he says he was unable to tell us as of midday, but we'll be getting updates on this matter. But the Gborbu Wulomor Shrine in Ungwa has been defending itself against calls for arrest. We'll hear from them shortly because they are about to address the media, which is set to come off in some few minutes. And then we also heard from the Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General, who says that they've written to the Ghana Police Service asking them to start investigations into the matter, and they are in readiness to prosecute this matter once the police advise them accordingly. But what is your say on this matter. Let's hear from Ghanaians on the streets of Accra.
First of all, I don't think it's right. The world has changed. We are in an advanced state. So you marrying someone who is 12, who is your grandchild, is absolutely wrong. So what the country should do, or the traditional rulers should do, should rather marry somebody who is from maybe 20 years going. At least that one at least should be accepted. But 12 years is too much. It's against human rights in a way to marry someone at that tender age. It could be that she has not even reached her reproductive cycle yet. So doing that is a whole lot. There'll be psychological effect, emotional effect, a whole lot.
We've been fighting for the kids, like this kind of child marriages for a long time. And this kind of old tradition to be abolished. Like you marrying a 12-year-old, old enough to be your daughter or your granddaughter. I think the man they need to arrest the man. I think he needs to go to court and he needs to be charged because this is defilement. You can't marry a 12-year-old and feel like you are on top of the world.
Even though it's culture, yes, when you're ready to marry someone, you go through a lot of things, courtship and family being approval of the spouse you are moving in with. In this situation, what are the parents also doing about the child's state? Is she ready for it? Hasn't been mentally cycled to understand what she's going into? We all know marriage entails a whole lot. Is she going to be intimate with this person, or she's just going to serve him? What is all about? I don't think culturally is right. It's wrong.
I feel the thing, from what I heard from the former gender minister, Oyelita, she was saying that it's not constitutional. So what the police must do is that they must arrest the person, the man in name, and then use the laws against him. That's what I feel. Because if truly it's against our laws, then they shouldn't. And another thing too was one man was interviewed. He was like, if in the community they can't find any other person who is a virgin and is not that very age, and that means the norms are not being practiced or their moral values are not being reached. Like the parents are not getting the moral values done well. Since in that particular big place, Nungwa is a big place, so why would they not find any other person and just that lady? So I feel the law has to be put into play.
Irrespective of traditional values that we have, you see, we have to pay attention to certain societal values. You see what I mean? Now, for example, I cannot fathom it. I mean, like an adult marrying a child, or you, a father, marrying your daughter. I mean, it's unheard of. You see what I mean? But if tradition says, well, fine. But then I kick strongly against it, and I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Those things are no more. Like we are in this 21st century, there's nothing like tradition like that. That little girl she also have her purpose in life. So we have to rather help her fulfill that purpose concerning her life rather than giving her to an old man. They should imprison him. Like they should put him in prison if he doesn't want to. Why not? They should let him face the law. Yeah.
Well, to me, I cannot recommend the kind of punishment he must receive or anything. But I think that it has to be made generally known that it is bad. You see what I mean? It is bad. And if the police sees that it is bad, then of course they can give commensurate punishment. You see what I mean for that? I think it's all I can say. But then tradition will also have to be given, its chance, in the role of things. You see, because if we have to forgo all our traditions, this is what I mean, and look at it from the Western perspective, I don't think it would be fair. So I'd want, the police to also kind of reason out with the, traditional authorities and then see what is appropriate, the appropriate measure to apply. That I think would be in the right direction.
So in the last, in some few minutes gone by, the office of the Gborbu Wulomor has been addressing a news conference in response to the ongoing controversy. Nungwa Mankralo ni Bote Teche Frakwa addressed the conference some few minutes ago. Let's listen in.
Very important for us to hold this press conference today for clarity on the incident of purported marriage right that was done 3 days ago Press release by the office of the Gborbu Wulomor on the purported marriage rite on Na Okromo, Tuesday, 2nd April 2024. It has become necessary that the office of the Gborbu Wulomor, overlord of the Gadangbe state, set the record straight on the matters arising concerning the customary and traditional rite that was performed over the weekend for Na Okromo to assume the role as Na Yomo Ayemwede. Na Yomo Ayemwede is one of the 4 roles played by indigenes of Nungwa of peculiar heritage and ancestry from time immemorial. The title, Na Yomo Ayemwede, which goes with appellation Wadokunyo, says much about how far in time the office goes. The Gborbu deity has 4 traditional and religious wives in Nungwa alone, and they are Na Ashiele, Na Ohimia, Na Busiafi, and the final one is Na Yomo Ayemwede. The Gborbu deity has other wives outside Nungwa. Some are Akonode in Late, and etc. Per our tradition and customary rites, Na Yomo Ayemwede performs a peculiar traditional role which is different from the other 3 wives. Being a Bwekpayo, Na Yomo Ayemwede aids the Gborbu Wulomor or the Gborbu chief priest in performing the special rites for the Gborbu deity, which includes 1, Didominuwo, which he performs 3 times in a year to usher in the Ekpelejo and Omo celebration for the entire Gadangbe state. Jente Nihomo, which is to feed all deities at the cardinals of the Meridian Rock, which is at the center of the world and is situated in Nungwa. She is the mother of all priests and priestesses in Nungwa. She is responsible for carrying the corn wine to the town square, festival grounds or Abrokojano for praises and thanksgiving to God Almighty. She is responsible for cleaning and abolition of the Gborbu temple during the annual Kwejo Omo festival. She is the 6th one. She is responsible for the Ayemwede deity and Shade deity, which is purely performed by a virgin. We would like to emphasize that there is no carnal relationship or marriage involved as perceived by many. For the records, the other wives to the deity have their own respective legal husbands, i.e. Na Ashiele, Na Busiafi, and Na Ohimia. All of them has their respective husbands. The items presented on Saturday, 30th March 2024 were not the usual items presented during marriage rites. Rather, they are to aid Na Yomo Ayemwede to carry out her traditional duties as already mentioned. Whenever the role becomes vacant, Atwa Chohe, to wit, spiritual consultations are made to determine who should take up the office. To add, persons from a peculiar home are selected for this role. After the demise of the former occupant, which was over 300 years ago, it fell on Na Okromo, who was prophesied by her birth to take up the mantle as Na Yomo Ayemwede. Na Okromo remained in her mother's womb for about 2 years before her birth. Through the interventions of the Gborbu deities, she was delivered and consecrated. She sat without walking for 2 years. Through divine interventions, consultations, and prayer to the Gborbu deity, she stood to walk. This makes her a mystery child. She has been preserved in maintaining her virginity till now to assume her role as Na Yomo Ayemwede, which she began 6 years ago. Now, quoting from M.J. Field's Religion and Medicine of the Ga People, chapter 3, At every Warriors Yeli, there are always to be seen a dozen or so children of all ages painted with white clay and dressed in white. These are children born in response to prayers to the particular gods or spirit. Now Okromo is one of such children, for which reason she was chosen by the Gborbu deity for this role. Events that unfold on Saturday saw some excesses, like all other events, of which verbal misrepresentation and other exaggerations by some people who took over the microphone after the actual MC is done with the presentation. We wish to debunk and disassociate ourselves from this misrepresentation and over-exaggeration, which without doubt are the cause of this disaffection. We want to send this message to the general public and all media houses, both home and abroad, that Wulomor kono numo bokete la wechuru the 33rd, Gborbu Wulomor an overlord of the Gadangme state, would for no reason attempt to violate the Constitution of the Republic, which over the years has expressed and shown by way of his action as a defender. For any clarity concerning Nungwa, we will entreat all and sundry to contact the office of the Gborbu Wulomor. Thank you very much. Signed, Reverend D.N. Jesse Ankra, Director of Administration, Office of the Gborbu Wulomor. Thank you all very much for coming.
Wache Wulomor kono bokete akane blofo emi ekukuji efio wake ehia ake wache nye na yomo ayemu ede.
So you heard a justification provided by the Nungwa Mankralo Ni Bote Teche Francois, giving reasons why the child was selected to play the role that is expected of her. Now let's turn to health now, because the Hill Konfanochi project aimed at renovating the 70-year-old Konfanochi Teaching Hospital in Kumasi has suffered a setback following the inability of the project to clear some of the items from the pause. The consignment of imported tiles meant for the project has been locked up at the Tema Harbour, accruing demurrage. The project is to pay more than 1.7 million Ghana cedis in duties to clear the 10 containers of tiles meant for the project. The Hill Konfanochi project was launched by the Asante Hene in collaboration with the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital to raise some $10 million to renovate Block A, B, C, and D of the hospital. The project was to renovate the almost dilapidated 70-year-old tertiary facility and also serve as a legacy project for the 25th anniversary of the installment of the Asante Hene Otumfuo Osei II. Former minority leader Haruna Aduso has been speaking about this and says he's disappointed that government is not putting such premium on such critical national institutions in the granting of tax waivers.
We have a government that, in spite of the fact that it has irresponsibly mismanaged the economy, occasioning a national debt of 600 billion, about 78% of our GDP, or probably even more. The consequence of that irresponsible management of the economy is stalled projects, including the Konfanochi 155 million euro project and the modernization of the maternity block and the long-standing uncompleted project in the history of construction of health facilities in Ghana. And therefore, government itself must expect some cost overruns. That is additional cost to the state, that is additional cost to the taxpayer, which is a simple and mere consequence of their mismanagement of the economy. When government claims that it has turned the corner, how can you turn a corner when you don't have a final agreement with the external creditors on how to manage your debt? There is no agreement with external creditors on the management of the external debt. So only God knows when that facility of 155 million euro will be ready for work to commence and for us to expect completion of work on the maternity block and the modernization of Konfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital. So as I said, misplaced priorities versus worthy initiative of the 25th anniversary of Otumfuo Asantehene. Disappointing, the least to say. No one expects that Nana Addo Dankwa and his government would behave this way. Without any shred of doubt, the Asantehene's determination to promote and protect human lives through the intervention of health and improve health delivery infrastructure is worthy of commendation. My disappointment is in the government and the government of Nana Addo Dankwa and Dr. Bawumia. Essentially, the Konfo-Anokye maternity block is a more than qualified candidate for government benevolence under any tax exemption regime which authority vests in Parliament, but largely based on practice initiated by the executive. My expectation would be that the Honorable Minister for Finance and the Minister of Finance will fast-track a recommendation to Parliament under Article 174 of the 1992 Constitution to grant tax exemptions to support the Asantehene's 25th anniversary and, more importantly, his determination to get the infrastructure fixed. This is a must urgently fix health infrastructure. One will be surprised at government, which is ready to grant millions of dollars of tax exemptions to other foreigners, be they other foreigners, yet we cannot do so for our own His Royal Highness Asantehene and the people of Asante. Very disappointing to be hearing and reading about this development. How much more can we as a government commit to improving health delivery and quality health delivery in the country and providing the needed quality health infrastructure? I think that this government has simply lost its priorities. This government has simply lost its priority. We have seen instances where the GRA has granted this exemption and come to Parliament for ratification of its decision. In this particular matter, it's not too late to fast-track a recommendation to Parliament to grant tax waivers to support the maternity block and the development of the Konfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital for purposes of preventing loss of lives. Ghana is already not doing well when it comes to infant and maternal mortality generally, per the UNICEF statistics that are available to us.
And as a former minority leader, member of parliament for Tamale South, Haruna Irisu, the chairman of the project, Samuel Adubuache, joins me via Zoom for more on this story. So, Samuel, you're welcome to the pulse here on Joy News. First, I want to find out, so what is the latest on the matter? This morning when you spoke on the SMS, there was no clear indication as to how this matter is being resolved. Is there a clear way now? I think that, yes.
Melton for the opportunity. I hope I'm audible enough.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so there have been some very good positive developments since we spoke on the SMS. We've had some very influential officials of government coming around to help us expedite and also take out the components of due.
I think we are currently experiencing connection issues to
for declaring at the port. So currently, as I speak, we've made some positive strides. and that maybe going forward, some of the things having to pay these amounts for duties and taxes.
So let's understand this. From the start, did you apply for tax waiver?
Yes, Elton, a letter was written to the Ministry of Finance from Komfanochi Teaching Hospital CEO, directing. The only unfortunate aspect of it is that letter written on the 9th of February had not been responded to or acknowledged by the ministry. And having gotten notice of the items docking at the Tema Harbour, it meant that if we didn't expedite, they were going to fall into demurrages, of which, of course, as I speak, we've already gotten into that. Now, the problem for me as the chairman was the fact that having to appeal to the ordinary Ghanaians on the street through the initiative of His Majesty to help heal Komfanochi, and thinking of paying a whooping 1.8 million Ghana cedis for duty was something that I could not bring myself to understand, especially when it is that we are contributing our quota to support the government in the delivery of quality healthcare across the country, and especially when it comes to Komfanochi and its state. For His Majesty's sake, and then the initiative he has taken, people are donating towards this project to help us heal Komfanochi, and therefore I did not find it expedient, or I did not find it very worthy to take even a penny out to make such a payment as taxes to the government. Therefore, the reason why we have had to come out this way.
So 1.7 million, is it your understanding that you will now be allowed to clear the goods without paying any money?
Elton, it is not just suppose 1.7 million, 1.8 million that we are talking about. Elton, the projects committee decided, the technical committee decided that whatever is they are able to purchase in Ghana, they will do it. But however, based on the cost-benefit analysis, if they are bringing stuff from outside of Ghana and it's more cost-effective, obviously everyone will go for that to make us save some more money to do things on the project. Because for a $10 million project and currently at 39%, it means that there's still more room for improvement, knowing that a lot of people have not actually responded, though it is encouraging for us to raise nearly $4 million in 3 months. It meant that we are making some good headway. But letters that were written had not been responded to. And for now, I think that maybe the attention that is being given to it is giving us some mileage. And I am being cautiously optimistic to say that maybe
yes, we are still having
get the waivers that we need, especially for the other items like electricals and plumbing that are yet to hit the country.
But Mr. Duwache, if you wrote to the GRA and you did not get a response, then they are not wrong in asking that you pay for the goods that you've imported into the country. Right.
And through the chief director, which of course has been the normal process for Komfanochi Teaching Hospital, except that we had not, as I speak to you, we had not received any response. But for now, I think that something is being done, and we commend the ministry for stepping in right on time.
We are just reading some media reports suggesting that the Vice President, Dr. Mamadou Bawumia, has intervened in this matter. Mr. Duwache, if you can hear me, I'm saying that we are reading media reports suggesting that.
Let's disregard. Yeah, Elton, I'm saying that let's disregard it. As much as I've indicated that high government officials have called and intervened, it didn't mean that it's from the Vice President's office. I've not spoken to anybody at the Vice President's office. I don't know where that news item is coming from, respectfully.
So for now, you're only banking your hopes on comments and assurances that have been provided by government officials to the effect that they will help you clear the goods from the port.
Obviously, anyone who gets to know about this predicament of the project will not sound too happy. Let me give you a perfect example.
Right.
That I paid a visit to the former majority leader, Kosechi Mensah-Bonsu, and then he immediately said, no, this is not right, I'm taking it up, and then make sure I get all the documents. So it means that for somebody like him, after he made a donation to us yesterday, And after said, when we had made the appeal to him, said he was also going to take it up. So obviously nobody will be enthused about the fact that we are appealing for money to do what government is supposed to do, and then the same government turns out to take taxes and duties out of us. So we are making some headway.
We understand that Mr. Chairman was donated 150,000 Ghana cedis.
Yes, please. He donated 150,000 Ghana.
And he's the same person also helping to bridge the gap between you and government in terms of resolving this clearance issue.
He called for us to come for a donation between himself and his wife, supporting the call by His Majesty. And so I had to chip in to him that this is the rock that the committee has hit, and if he could do anything about it. And as much as he said it was not something that is so easy, he said he was going to do something about it for us. So this is where we are. And that level of concern, to me, is very encouraging. Just like how others who have heard and read about the news are also showing grave concern about the project and the taxes that are ahead of us.
Two quick questions, so I'll let you go. Is the king aware of this challenge?
Respectfully, when it is that we had been hoping to hear from the ministry that we were not, and therefore hitting the demarriage period, we had to write officially to His Majesty. And from my sources, he was also going to intervene. And this was last week, just before the holidays. So I'm also optimistic that His Majesty stepping in will give us a good at the moment so we can make progress with the project.
And where are we with the project in terms of the renovation works?
It is ongoing for the contractors to work. Currently, we have, as you are aware, the roofing work has been completed. And for any rains that have been coming in recent times, Komfo has been free of the leakages that they used to experience in the past. And for now that we have gone past the roofing, we have started with the A5 maternity block, A4, A5, and currently at A3, and we are making some good progress.
And you also got $6 million more to raise.
Yes, Elton, as it is that we also expect media houses to rally support for this project, we are optimistic that corporate Ghana will respond to His Majesty's call. Identifiable groups, associations, churches, etc., will respond. Individuals and private businessmen would equally respond. We are keeping our fingers crossed and being very hopeful that we'll be able to execute this project for the betterment of Ghana, for the betterment of us.
I mean, since you are working on this project, perhaps let me just find out.
And also all the other regions that are dependent on continent.
Right. I was asking, since you are working closely with Komfo Anokye, I was asking, since you are working closely with Komfo Anokye on this project, I'm curious to know, Haruna Idusi says that Parliament in 2019 approved a loan of 155 million euros to refurbish Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital. Is it a case that CAF has yet to receive this amount of money? There is no money for such purpose. That is how come the king himself had to take this initiative to raise money from individual Ghanaians to refurbish what is a public entity.
The development of a nation does not rest with only the vast. Everyone comes on board to be able to make things happen in the development of any nation, and Ghana is no exception. So for His Majesty to take this up, it is also in a right direction, so to speak. Let me say that I'm unable to speak to any amount that the Parliament approved, etc., for the renovation of Komfo Anokye. I am not aware of it.
Right.
I'm sure this will sit.
Right. Thank you very much. The network hasn't been the best for us this afternoon, but that is Samir Edubuache. He is the chairman of the Hill Komfo Anokye projects, and their task is to raise $10 million to refurbish some parts of the hospital. And already they are facing challenges clearing goods that have imported into the country that will go into the renovation and refurbishment of the Gborbu Wulomor Teaching Hospital. and we'll bring you more on this story. Now, this is the pause here on Join Us. We'll take a short break. When we return, the Lands Ministry has outdoored an ultra-modern office, which it says will be the hub of activities for the Greater Accra Lands Commission in the effective administration of lands in the region. We'll get to know more about this and what it is intended to streamline the operations of the Lands Commission. We'll have all that answers for you after the short break here on the pause. Welcome back to the pause here on Joy News. Now, this one, the Lands Ministry outdoored an ultra-modern office, which it says will be the hub of activities for the Greater Accra Lands Commission in the effective administration of lands in the region. Shortly, we'll hear from the Lands Commission on how this changed the administration of lands in the region, especially knowing the challenges many have gone through with regards to land management. At the commissioning ceremony, though, Lands Minister Samuel Abujinapo outlined some major reforms and interventions by the government to develop a robust and effective land administration anchored on decentralization and digitalization.
Today marks a very important step in our quest to build an effective, transparent, responsive, and orderly land administration which is steeped in integrity. I commend the leadership of the Lands Commission and the Greater Accra Regional Lands Commission for putting up this extraordinary office complex to serve the land needs of the people of our capital city, Accra. Land, as we all know, is a major and consequential tool for economic growth and all facets of our national development. The adverse consequences of ineffective, fraudulent, and weak land administration is very damning. It is therefore not surprising that Article 258 of our national constitution establishes the Lands Commission to, amongst others, manage public lands, see to the effective registration of land, and formulate national policies for the administration and use of land. As our nation evolves and our land-related challenges become more complex, it is imperative that we adapt and enhance the capabilities of the Lands Commission to meet the demands of the modern era. That is why, under the able and outstanding leadership of President Akufo-Addo, we have been championing reforms in land administration with a view of transforming the Lands Commission into a modern, efficient, and customer-centric institution capable of meeting the diverse needs of our society. At the heart of these reforms is the decentralization of land administration. We have therefore established 6 fully digitized offices for the 6 new regions of our country, and we are establishing satellite client service access units in all regional offices of the Commission across the country to bring land administration services closer to the people and ensure greater accessibility and efficiency in land-related transactions. Ladies and gentlemen, effective and efficient land administration includes providing suitable workplaces for staff of the Commission. In addition to these developments, we are pursuing an aggressive digitization agenda to digitalize the records of the Lands Commission and promote a robust land administration that ensures peace, security, economic growth, and resource development. Already, the Commission has successfully migrated some of its operations into the digital environment and rolled out the Enterprise Land Information System, which offers some select services fully online.
Right, so that's the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Samuel Abujinapo, commissioned this very exquisite, magnificent building that will house the Greater Accra Regional Lands Commission. Now, the building is nice, but what goes inside the building is what is of concern to a lot of people. If you have issues with land, well, this is the right time for you to get all your answers to. Joining me now is Timothy Anyidohu, Acting Regional Lands Office, Greater Accra Region. Timo, you're welcome. Thank you very much. And it's good to have you here this afternoon.
It's good to be here this afternoon.
Right, so beautiful building you have in there.
Yes.
So how does that help in the work that you do at the Lands Commission?
Well, those who know the Lands Commission historically would have come to meet us in some less modern buildings.
Right.
With our offices scattered all over the cantonment area, some as far as the ministries area. Sometime in 2011, 2012, the commission thought it wise that it would be a good time for us to have one modern building to help, especially in housing all our 4 divisions in one place and our customer service and access unit, so that it can help integration of our work processes and also a more effective service delivery.
So now you have all your satellite offices now in one office?
Yes, so if you know the cantonment area where generally the Greater Accra offices,
right.
This building is supposed to house all of us. At the moment, and at the program, the minister said so that it's housing both the national headquarters in one part, and part of the region in another part.
Okay, so region and national all
fused, but there's a national building that has far advanced in completion that the minister promised to be inaugurating very soon. That's around the 37 area. So very soon the national headquarters will now move into their building while they give way to the entire Greater Accra region to be in this building that you see.
So all services that you undertake can now be undertaken in this new building?
In this new building, yes.
And that is good, right?
That is very good because, as I said, there are 4 main divisions of the commission. The public invested land, the survey and mapping, the land registration division, the land valuation division. Because we're a bit scattered in a few offices, people find it tedious. First of all, work-wise, some services are supposed to flow into the other. Right. Because you are in little other places, you have to exit one building, go to the next, go for a service here, come for it here. But once all of us become housed in this building, now it's just one big building, it's going to force us even to be more integrated in our services.
So whilst the camera took shots of the building, I saw some inscription on some of your doors: integrity, transparency, commitment, and of course all these nice words that should give confidence to the people. But land issue is always complex, and it evokes a lot of emotions in all of these matters. Would you say that in the last few years, you've done a lot to instill confidence in land acquisition and management?
Well, yes, I can say there's always room for improvement. I always say, anytime you talk to the commission, let us understand where we are from,
right,
where we are now. The minister stated things such as, look at the fact that we can do searches now online, some of our services. What that means is that in the comfort of your home, you can request for a search to be done. It means that you don't have to come there to meet anybody to have the temptation of entering some form of arrangement other than the official payment.
Right.
These are some of the things that are evident of the transparency from the integrity, trying to help infuse technology. And in the clip, you see that the minister had a chance to go to our records to see how we have sought to scan some of our sheets, most of them anyway, so that if we are retrieving information, we are more reliable, it's kept well and accessible at the click of a button. So,
but land acquisition here in the Greater Accra region always comes with so many bottlenecks, and sometimes even staff of your establishment, they've also come under blame for some of these, double sale and all those issues. Educate us.
Okay, so
as we have you here.
So we say generally that land is 20% of land nationally is owned by the state. 80% is owned by stools, families, clans.
Right.
So that shows that anytime you hear there's a dispute within a family or a clan or a stool, then it may affect land acquisition. Lands Commission's responsibility is one of registration.
Right.
If it's not state land. If some stool decides to double grant, for instance, Lands Commission is there to help the individuals who have purchased, for instance. People often blame us for everything, including what we have not done. Because if some stool sells to Mr. A and sells to Mr. B, and they come to us and we register the one who submits his own first, you can't say we're in league with somebody because we may not even be aware
that same land has been sold to another person.
To Mr. A. Land transactions generally worldwide is better with integrity as a base, whether it is from the registration point of view or from the sale point of view. So as we all keep making strides, and the minister mentioned also things such as the new Land Act making provision for customary land secretariats, where now the stools can also keep record of what they are given. So the excuse that I didn't know, my predecessor gave it to Mr. A, gave it to Mr. B, will now begin to be a thing of the past.
Right.
And then now you have records of it, so you can't double grant or double give. So it's something that we are attacking on various forms. Part of it is sensitization, which Lands Commission has gone on a huge drive with the ministry backing us over the past 4 years, just to educate. I've had the privilege of being in this studio several times to speak to people about what they have to do if they want to purchase land.
But can I just walk into the Lands Commission office and then say that I want to buy a land? Is there a way you can help me with that?
So Lands Commission will not sell land
to anybody
if it is not state land.
Okay.
So we have one division called the Public Invested Land Management Division. They will deal with public land that has been properly acquired or vested. So we don't keep a bank of land to sell, except the land is state land. But if it is private land...
Do you actually sell state land?
So state land, people apply for. And based on availability, it's the same state land that has done the airports you see, the hospitals you see. So the priority is more for social projects.
Right.
But there are some housing estates in Greater Accra, for instance. You speak about the cantonments, the airports, and East Legons and the North Legons. These are residential enclaves, because government also sees itself as a catalyst for residential development. And therefore, in some areas, government creates a residential enclave also to help the nature of development that is going on in that area. So where it's available and you apply and you're a citizen, yes, based on priority of applications, you may be able to.
But when it comes to families to land, you don't come in at all?
We don't come in at all. Our main responsibility is registration. So you have entered your transaction with Chief A or Family Head B or Individual C. You have just come to Lands Commission to help you do the registration. So where there's a challenge within your grant, for instance, where the person doesn't have a capacity, where you go to court and there's a judgment, it's supposed to advise us in the process of registration. That's all we'll do.
For you, with your expertise in this area, the challenge, where exactly does it come from?
The challenge, I always say 80%, is when people are purchasing land, people are not patient enough to do the searches that are required in order to know the status of the land. Land is the only thing where people would approach the registration only when they have completed the transaction. So when they come for registration and you tell them it's not possible, then they get frustrated because they would have gone ahead and parted with money. And therefore, our advice every time is make sure you do the right searches before you go ahead to purchase a land.
So the search can be done in your office?
Yes, that's why I said in Greater Accra, we are lucky. We've moved on to the digital platform, the same as the 6 new regions, where just with the phone, you can scan, make a request to us, pay digitally, and we'll do a search and give to you.
But the issue of double registration, and you say that, if I should present my document today, you will register the land for me.
Yes.
If another person presents documents covering the same land, that is where the problem will
Yes, so that is where we would reject one because an earlier one has been.
So therefore, the person who came first will always have the priority.
Yes, that is what we call priority of registration, and is backed by law. You see, that's why when people purchase land, the law was perceiving that it also encouraged people to register. So if I buy first, I go home to sleep. I've not come to Lands Commission. Lands Commission doesn't have any record of that transaction. The person who sells to you then goes ahead and sells to Mr. B. You come for registration. How would Lands Commission know that it has been given to Mr. A? So the law says priority in registration. Lands Commission will go ahead and do that registration. If by any chance you feel that there's some inconsistency because the person had given to you first, that's where litigation comes in. The person goes to court to seek the order of the court to expunge that registration before we can do that of the other.
But I have come across several demolitions where, people are sold lands.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm sure they go to the Lands Commission to do the check and do registration. 10, 15 years later, another person comes to claim ownership of that said land.
Yes.
And is able to secure a court order to say, go and demolish all those properties.
So I like the fact that you say a court order, because until the court gives an order, we will be working with the information that's available for you. You've recently heard about the famous or infamous Numomashi judgment, where we may have acted on some decision made in 1980, something, 82, 83. If so many years after, the Supreme Court thinks differently and now gives a different instructions, Lands Commission is a servant of the courts also. So usually you see that happens where maybe litigations were going on over years. Now before no injunction was granted, Lands Commission continued to act properly because that was the information that was available to it until such a time that the court gives a different direction. And then that may lead to the things that you complain about, such as demolition.
So for such person who bought his or her land 10, 15 years ago, and he's now dealing with somebody who is claiming ownership of the land, I mean, there is no remedy for such an individual.
Most of the time, the courts are very, very careful to say if people have acquired rights over some years, then you just what they call regularize or sort of go to the rightful owner for him to sort of give you the right documentation.
Right.
If you know, demolition is often the last resort that the court encourages people to do. So there's often the fine print in the judgment. Sometimes people just say, I have a judgment, but in the judgment, the court often is very careful not to just say jump. Otherwise, you would have seen many, many, many more demolitions. Of course. But the court encourages go atone tenancy, as it will say, or regularize from the rightful person so that life can go on, because he understands that building takes a lot in terms of investment. And
your advice this afternoon is that if you want to acquire land,
yes.
The steps that you need to take, the first will be to check the availability of that land.
Search, yes, a search conducted with the commission, and also you go to the land. You know, land is a fiscal thing. You can go on it. Most people can transact without ever going onto the land, without doing a search, and I've seen it so many times. They have come to you only when they transact.
Is it because of based on what trust in the person they're buying the land
so
from?
I always say, even if my father is selling land to me, I'll say I want to check it.
And be sure that it is indeed the land.
Because he may even believe it is his, but he may not have the right documentation to support so. I have seen many people whose parents have passed. They believe their fathers had registered or owned the property, only to come and do a search, and they find different names. And they are stuck because they've stayed there their whole life.
Right.
It's because maybe their parents never went ahead to do the right thing in terms of documentation. So it becomes a challenge of the next generation to try to sort out the challenge of the right documentation.
So, as you indicated, that you've streamlined your operations to make it more flexible and welcoming. So, and you also say that you can actually do the search on your own a mobile device.
Yes.
How do you go about it?
Oh, so we have a onlineservices.lc.gov.gh. That's it. So you go there, and then you will see our services running through, and you say click on a search, and it tells you how to scan your site plan, which is a base map that we use for the search. Payments are done electronically with your Momo, your Visa card, whatever. And then you've submitted your search. It will give you a receipt and a response. And then when it is ready, we would take, the law says 14 days. At the moment, we are doing in Greater Accra about 70% 14 days. Okay. Some a little bit longer because of information retrieval. But you get your response done back online, and you can be advised by the contents.
But in all of this dealing, have you ever come across a situation where maybe some people in your office do duplicate documents for another person, and then it becomes litigation?
So we have, it is something that went a lot into the Land Act 1036, where even now there are a lot of punitive punishments for us, the staff of Lands Commission, to discourage people from doing that. We've had assistance from the CID, from the NI, from anybody who can help us in terms of discouraging people. But the digitization has helped a lot in identifying those who may be doing those.
So in future,
you find less of this, because now
less of this now.
Now you touch the computer, he knows who did it, what time he did it, what IP address was used. So people even may think they've done it and gotten away with it.
But you can always trace.
You can always trace and then deal with that.
Has there been punishment in the past?
Yes. In fact, as I speak now, there have been some number of our staff that were dismissed because of some involvement in things relating to stamp duty, that our land valuation. But then I saw letters in my mail signed by the chief executive, relieving them of their duty as public servants because they were found to be complicit in something that was untoward. And disciplinary committees are set up. We have permanent ones of the national and the regional commissions, and we've continued to, like any establishment, we have good nuts and we have bad
nuts as well.
When the bad nuts are found, the punishment is clear, and they suffer the punishment for it.
And dismissal was the only punishment?
We have dismissal. We've handed some over to the security agencies for prosecution. Some are even undergoing prosecution as I speak now.
You also have issue with Goro boys?
So that's what the minister was, and my national chairman today, Alex Kwenu, mentioned it, that the steps we are taking now is supposed to reduce the incidents of people hanging around the office pretending to be staff. So if you come to the new building, constructed for us by Elegant Homes, we want to acknowledge them.
Right.
They are the contractors, and Avanti Architects who designed for us. the building has been designed in such a way that we don't have easy access to the place as may have been in the past. So you find out that there's a reception where you are logged in. If you don't have business beyond that place, we have security town blocks that will open the door to other areas of the building. And that is going to restrict the movement or the way in which people who are non-staff interact.
But the office is open for anybody who wants to come in and do genuine business.
Genuine business. We have a client service access unit. We have a good reception there. We have what we call the complaints and complaints units that where you can go if you submitted something to us in the past and you just want to do a follow-up. We have a desk set up for that also in the new building.
Somebody asking just one question. I will just admit it. I'll let you go. He's asking. He said some time back that your building suffered flooding, which affected some of your documents, and whether you've been able to retrieve all documents that got lost in the process.
We explained that flooding that they said was even not. It was really an internal plumbing issues. But we have the way in which the building is designed, all the documents are raised at a certain level so that they are not on the floor. So the few that were affected that were dealt with, but all those had been scanned. So now the papers that you see have been scanned electronically to ensure that we have access to them. So we don't, the fear that if it floods, we may not have the documents again is something of the past now.
And you are fully on board with this digitalization agenda. Sometimes we heard of some backtracking and foot dragging on the part of the Lands Commission to get on board fully.
A change, they say, always has its own challenges, but we have embraced it. I always say the current Vice President has gracious enough to visit us twice or thrice, all pushing the agenda. Our current minister is very heavy on that. Our new chief executive is heavy on digitization, and that's what we have been doing as much as possible, infuse technology to make it easy for us. So the new building design considers all that, your internet, all that you require, your wiring, anything that you require, your ports, to ensure that people have access to the technology that they require to be able to.
Is there your final words as you advise our viewers, especially those who have land issues?
Yes, before I advise your viewers, I want to commend. We always talk about a nice building, but who is behind it?
Exactly.
Avanti group, that is architects, our Elegant Homes, who are our partners in this. And then also I wish to advise your people that the Lands Commission is making its best to make itself accessible. People should be less cynical and approach us. And if they approach us with whatever concerns, advice, service they require, they are guaranteed that the standards have been set up high there. We'll seek to assist them and they get the best service.
Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Timothy Anyido, who is the acting Greater Accra Regional Boss of the Lands Commission, and they have a new office just around Cantonment. Well, let's move to some other stories now. And the three pre-tertiary teacher unions, this afternoon they've called off their ongoing industrial action, citing an injunction secured by the National Labour Commission against their strike. The three teacher unions have laid down their tools since March 2024, citing the need for improved working conditions. However, following a successful interim injunction obtained by the National Labour Commission, they've called off the strike, asking all teachers to return to the classroom. Ken Ali Awudu is spokesperson for the teacher unions.
On the 20th of March 2024, the three teacher unions made up of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NATS, the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, and the Coalition of Concerned Teachers Ghana, CCTGH, declared an industrial action to press home our demands. Among the many things we were asking for was the negotiations of our collective agreement. And specifically, we were asking for a continuous professional development allowance, deprived area allowance, transport or commuting allowance, rent or housing allowance, teaching or assessment allowance, amongst others. The matter went to the Labour Commission, after which the Labour Commission gave a directive for us to call off the strike and go back to the negotiations table. That was last week, Tuesday. The next day, Wednesday, we met the government side. The government side insisted if we do not call off the strike, they aren't going to continue with negotiations. We informed them that we have a procedure through which we must go through to be able to call off the strike. The meeting ended abruptly. Then the next day, Thursday last week, we heard that the Labour Commission is going for an injunction. It was not until this week that we have officially been served with the injunction. As law-abiding citizens and having respect for the courts, we hereby declare the strike that was called on 20th March 2024 called off, and ask all our members and teachers of pre-tertiary education in this country to resume work with immediate effect. We continue to ask the employer, led by the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, to commence negotiations this afternoon, today, April 2nd, 2024, so we can expedite the negotiations and come to a conclusion to forestall any other happenings in the future. The three teacher unions say ayuko to all the teachers that obeyed the directives, and we hereby thank them so much for the massive support they've shown us. And we want to reassure them that we have their interest at heart, and that the items we have put on the table, we will continue to fight to the last drop to see to it that it is achieved. Choboy! Choboy! The three teacher unions, hereby myself as their spokesperson, do call off the strike. Thank you very much.
And the National Graduate Teachers Association of Ghana President Angel Kabono, however, described the NLC decision to go to court without notice of the union as an action in bad faith.
Take this opportunity to congratulate all teachers in pre-tertiary education in this country for solidly remaining resolute behind leadership. The objective of the industrial action is to ensure that we commence negotiation and the process of negotiation goes fast, and that our legitimate demands that we've made of government, be ascended to. The teachers in this country are suffering too much, and they have been denied what is rightly theirs. We are law-abiding citizens as the leaders of the teacher unions, and we will not, under any circumstances, defy the orders of the court, whether we are happy or not. On this note, as has been said, we ask all our teachers to return to the classroom, and we call on the leadership or the management of Ghana Education Service, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Labor, and also Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to commence negotiations immediately. And not only commence negotiation, but will be seen to work in such a manner that negotiations will end in the interest of the Ghanaian teachers.
Would you describe the ex-parte motion from the earners as a smack of bad faith?
Well, I think any act that goes to court without the other.
So on education, and the Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Dr. Eric Nkansa, has instructed senior high school heads not to recall final year students to come to school for the WASI registration. According to him, ample time will be provided for the students to take the registration process when they resume on April 17. Addressing a news conference in Accra, the Director General also explained that students under the Free Senior High School program are not expected to make any payment for their registration, as program caters for their registration.
The other issue that also came to our attention had to do with WAS. The WAS registration fees. We read in the news that WAS registration fee has been pegged at 465 Ghana cedis. And since that news came out, a lot of parents are asking whether everybody is going to pay. No. All students with our government secondary schools under the free SHS program are not required to pay that 465 Ghana cedis because that money is already absorbed by the free SHS program. The same work, also, we have also learned that some of our Form 3 students who are already home for vacation have been asked by some of the schools to come back and complete their WAS registration. We want to say unequivocally that no student should be asked to come back to school to complete this WAS registration. The reason is very simple, that by the time they come back to school on 17th of April, they will have enough time to be able to complete their registration. So please, headmasters to note that no student should be asked to come back to school because we know that some of them are living far and near and they are enjoying their vacations at home. So they are not expected to come back to school to complete their registration until school reopens on 17th of April. We can assure them that it will be given ample time. We're working with WAEC to ensure that happens. Ample time to complete the registration. Thank you very much.
Responding to the decision by the 3 teacher unions to call off their strike, he says it is a move in the right direction.
Just received news that the 3 teacher unions have called off their strike, which started on 20th March 2024. This is a pleasant news indeed, and I want to take the opportunity to applaud them for calling off this strike to pave the way for us to continue with negotiations. As we have indicated time and again as management of Ghana Education Service, we would continue to work in the interest of our staff and our learners. So we thank them dearly for calling off this strike. We are all excited about this news, and we are going to get into the negotiations right away. Thank you very much.
Now, away from that, consultant psychiatrist Dr. Emmanuel Doye at the University of Allied Science has called on the state to take particular interest in Joy News' latest Hotline documentary that shows how some people in the creative art industry are battling drug use. Some of them have been badly affected and have suffered the scourge of drug addiction in various ways. But the big question is, what leads them into the act? Kwame Daxi's creative addiction delves into this as some creative opens up on how they found themselves in such a noose and the effect it had on them.
For most people who use illicit drugs, they start as children or teenagers. The late Lynx Entertainment signee, O.J. Black, is one of those who got trapped in the act when he was but a little boy.
I started smoking when I was very young, very, very little. I started at the age of 11.
11 years?
Yes.
Who introduced you?
No one.
How did it happen?
So I was in a boarding house, and sometimes you see the security, what we used to call watchmen.
Yeah.
Smoking around, seated in their jackets smoking, and I was talking to one of my friends who like, hey Charlie, you see the way this food is smoked, you know? It was like, oh, you go feed smoking. And that was how it started.
I want to sing for the world, sing for my country.
Good.
So if I sing and you don't pay me, I don't lose. If you know what you are doing and what the talent is and what it's worth, it's not for the peanut the person is going to give you.
Good. Nasty, a former member of the Lifetime Family Music Group, tells me that his relationship with drugs was birthed during his time in Adisadel College. Little did he know that what made him high for a moment would ruin his life forever.
This whole thing started in school. You understand? This whole drug thing started in school. I said it, and then disco guys say me sell you out. And I'm trying to say about my life story. That these two guys are telling me that because I went to Adisada, I'm selling Adisada college guys out. But I'm not gonna lie. I started these drugs around at the year 19. I was a little kid. I was a little bit stubborn because Charlie, you need something strong. I don't worry. So far as my motive is to stop drugs, I don't want any drug conversation because right now, I'm trying to say no to it more than going to rehab, or they should tight me. They don't want me. You understand? Say no to it. You have the money in your pocket. You say no, you won't buy it. That is real rehab.
Dr. Julius Hatche says drugs impede the normal functioning of the brain.
The whole concept or the whole idea of drug is that it has got a biological basis. Addiction now demonstrates a biological basis, making it clear that any time that anyone uses any of these drugs or substances of abuse, the brain itself gets affected. It halts the maturation of the brain, and to some extent it even causes the brain's maturation to regress. So certain social skills that you would expect that a person will acquire at a certain stage, because of the use of drug, they may not gain or acquire it.
That notwithstanding, the general perception that drugs boost the confidence of creatives is rife among entertainers.
And the full documentary will be on the Super Morning Show tomorrow, and of course on your Joy News channel, Creative Addiction by Kwame Dazi. Well, that's our show for today. For more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com. And I paid $100,000 to Anas to kill documentary. Who is saying this? President Techo, who is bidding to become the Member of Parliament for Josephine, the Ashanti region. Also, the teachers, they've called off their strike, passport fees. We have no intention of imposing financial burden on Ghanaians. This is the Minister for Foreign Affairs. And of course, Woyomi, money and other matters all can be found on myjoyonline.com. My name is Elton Brobe. We shall be back tomorrow, same time at 3 for another exciting edition of The Pulse. You have a great evening.